Ever feel like you're drowning in emails? To-dos like just scattered everywhere and just generally struggling to keep up with the digital whirlwind. I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
Today's deep dive is all about tackling that feeling head on.
Okay.
We're diving into this document called Productive Nost Google Alati. That's Google Tools Productivity in Croatian.
Oh, wow.
Which is essentially a promo for a training course on using Google Tools effectively.
Okay.
But instead of just like listing features,
Yeah.
we're going to uncover the underlying principles of productivity and how Google Tools can help us apply them.
It's fascinating how much potential we have just like at our fingertips with these tools, especially when you consider the sheer number of users.
Right.
Did you know that Gmail alone has over 1.8 billion users?
Wow.
That's a massive amount of collective productivity waiting to be unlocked.
That's a mind-boggling number.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much impact even small changes to our individual workflows could have on a global scale. What's really interesting about this course is the focus on integration.
What?
Not just using individual Google apps, but weaving them together into a system.
Right.
I'm curious, what are the core benefits of this integrated approach?
The key benefit is creating a seamless flow of information and action.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Every time you switch between apps, you create a tiny mental speed bump. Integrating tools like Gmail, Tasks, Calendar, and Docs smooths out those bumps, allowing you to move effortlessly from email to task to schedule to documentation.
So instead of feeling like we're juggling a dozen different apps, it's more like having a centralized command center for our digital lives.
Exactly. And this ties into a fundamental principle of productivity, minimizing context switching.
Okay.
Our brains aren't wired for constant multitasking.
Right.
Every time we shift our attention, we lose focus and efficiency. An integrated system helps us maintain that focus by keeping everything within easy reach.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about the tools themselves.
Right.
It's about how we use them to support our natural cognitive processes.
Precisely. Now, the document specifically highlights Inbox Zero and action-based inbox as key concepts for efficient email management.
Okay.
I'm curious, are you familiar with these approaches?
I've heard of Inbox Zero, but honestly, the idea of keeping my inbox completely empty at all times seems a bit intimidating.
It can definitely feel daunting, especially if you're dealing with a high volume of emails.
Yeah.
Inbox Zero is less about the literal number of emails and more about the mindset of processing each email as soon as you read it.
Okay.
Either you take action immediately, archive it for reference, or delete it. The goal is to avoid letting your inbox become a dumping ground for unprocessed tasks and decisions.
Okay, that makes it feel a little less overwhelming. But what about action-based inbox? How is that different?
Action-based inbox takes the concept of Inbox Zero a step further by organizing your inbox based on the actions you need to take. Instead of simply archiving emails, you categorize them into folders like to read, to respond, waiting for, and projects. This way, your inbox becomes a visual representation of your current commitments and priorities.
So it's like turning your inbox into a to-do list that's directly linked to your incoming messages. I can see how that would be powerful, especially for people who get a lot of action-driven emails.
Absolutely. And this leads us to a fascinating point about the psychological impact of structure in our digital lives. The document uses a clever analogy. Imagine a physical mailbox overflowing with mail.
Okay.
What does that tell you about the person who lives there?
Honestly, it paints a picture of someone who's overwhelmed and probably not very organized.
Exactly. That visual chaos translates directly to mental stress.
Right.
The same principle applies to our digital inboxes.
Yeah.
Without a clear system for processing and organizing information, we're setting ourselves up for overwhelm and inefficiency.
It's like the digital equivalent of clutter. And just like physical clutter can weigh us down, digital clutter can drain our energy and make it harder to focus.
Precisely. And this is where the integration of Google Tools comes into play.
Okay.
The document spends a surprising amount of time on the power of Google Tasks, which might seem like a simple to-do list app,
Yeah.
but it's so much more when integrated with the rest of the Google suite.
I'll admit, I've always used Google Tasks as a basic to-do list.
Right?
But I'm starting to see how it could be a much more powerful tool within this integrated system.
It becomes the central hub for capturing and managing all those actions that stem from your emails, calendar events, and even documents. Imagine this, you're reading an email that requires a follow-up action.
Okay.
Instead of just flagging it and hoping you remember, you can instantly create a task in Google Tasks directly from that email.
Wow.
It's linked, it's actionable, and it's off your mind.
Okay, now that's a game changer. I can see how that seamless integration would make a huge difference in staying on top of things.
Right.
No more lost emails or forgotten tasks slipping through the cracks.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Let's say you have a task to write a project proposal.
Yeah.
You can link that task directly to a Google Doc where you're drafting the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
All your relevant information is just a click away, centralized and organized.
Wait, so Google Docs isn't just for writing and collaboration?
Right.
It can be a hub for my entire project management system.
You got it. And it goes even further.
Yeah?
The document actually suggests using Google Docs to build a CRM system.
Hold on, CRM system.
Yeah.
I thought those were expensive software programs used by big companies.
Right.
How can you possibly build something like that in Google Docs?
It might sound counterintuitive, but with a bit of ingenuity and the right know-how,
Yeah.
you can actually leverage Google Docs to track customer interactions, manage leads, and even automate some sales processes.
Wow, that's some seriously next-level thinking. It's like they're democratizing access to tools that were previously only available to big businesses.
Exactly. And that's what I find so exciting about this approach.
Yeah.
It's about empowering individuals and teams with the tools they need to achieve their goals, regardless of their budget or technical expertise.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's not just about the individual features of these tools.
Right.
It's about the underlying philosophy of using technology to simplify, streamline, and empower.
Absolutely. Now, while the document focuses heavily on the practical aspects of using Google tools,
Yeah.
it doesn't delve too deeply into the why behind these techniques.
Okay.
It's important to remember that these tools are most effective when they're aligned with sound principles of productivity and time management.
So it's not just about blindly adopting every feature or technique.
Right.
It's about understanding the underlying principles that make them work.
Exactly. For example, one popular productivity philosophy is getting things done, or GTD.
Okay.
It emphasizes capturing all your tasks and commitments in a trusted system. So you can free up mental space for creative thinking and problem solving.
Right.
Google Tools can be a fantastic way to implement GTD principles.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about taking control of your workflow so you can focus on the work itself, not on trying to remember everything you need to do.
Yeah,
Are there other productivity philosophies that work well with Google Tools?
absolutely. Another popular technique is the Pomodoro technique,
Okay.
which involves working in focused bursts of 25 minutes followed by a short break. You can easily use Google Calendar to schedule your Pomodoro intervals and create a rhythm for your workday.
So there's flexibility in how you can apply these tools.
Yeah,
It's about finding what works best for your individual work style and preferences.
precisely. And that's where experimentation and customization come in.
Okay.
The document doesn't prescribe a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
It encourages users to explore and adapt the system to their unique needs.
That's refreshing. It's not about conforming to some strict methodology. It's
Yeah.
about empowering yourself to create a system that works for you.
Exactly. Now, one thing the document doesn't explicitly address is the potential downside of relying too heavily on any single ecosystem. It's important to consider data privacy, security, and the potential limitations of putting all your digital eggs in one basket, so to speak.
That's a really important point. We need to be mindful of those potential risks and make informed decisions about how we manage our digital lives.
Absolutely. It's about finding a balance between leveraging the power of these tools and maintaining a healthy level of awareness and control.
So it's not just about efficiency.
Right.
It's about responsible and conscious use of technology.
Precisely. And that leads to a question that's not explicitly mentioned in the document, but is worth considering: the human element.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do you mean by the human element in this context?
Well, as powerful as these tools are, they're still just tools.
Right.
They can't replace the need for clear communication, effective delegation, and good old-fashioned teamwork.
So even with the most perfectly integrated system, you still need those core human skills.
Absolutely. In fact, I'd argue that these tools can actually enhance those skills by removing the friction and confusion that often gets in the way of effective collaboration.
That's a great point. It's like these tools can create a space for people to focus on what they do best without getting bogged down in the administrative chaos.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens.
Okay.
When teams can harness the power of technology to amplify their collective intelligence and creativity.
Now you're talking. That's a vision of productivity I can get behind.
Right.
Not just about checking off tasks, but about achieving meaningful results together.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still a little stuck on this idea of using Google Docs as a CRM.
Sure.
Can you give me a more concrete example of how that would actually work?
Sure. Let's say you're a freelancer managing multiple clients.
Yeah.
You could create a separate Google Doc for each client.
Yeah.
Where you store all their contact information, project details, communication history, and even invoices.
Yeah.
You could then use Google Sheets to create a dashboard that pulls data from those docs, giving you an overview of your client relationships and project pipeline.
That's brilliant. It's like creating a custom-built CRM system tailored to your specific needs.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that you can adapt and expand it as your business grows.
Wow.
You could even use Google Forms to automate lead capture and integrate it with your docs-based CRM.
I'm starting to see the potential here.
Yeah.
It's not just about replicating the features of expensive software. It's about using readily available tools and creative ways to achieve similar results.
Precisely. It's about unlocking that hidden potential and empowering yourself to build a system that works for you, not the other way around.
Thinking back to that statistic about 1.8 billion Gmail users,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder how much untapped potential is out there.
It's truly mind-boggling. Imagine the collective impact if everyone harnessed the power of integrated Google tools.
It would be a productivity revolution, but let's be realistic.
Right.
Not everyone is going to become a Google power user overnight.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's feeling overwhelmed and doesn't know where to start?
My advice would be to start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire workflow all at once.
Okay.
Instead, identify one area where you feel the most pain points. Maybe it's email overload task management or project organization, and focus on implementing one or two integrations in that area.
You know, it's funny. I used to think of productivity as this rigid, almost robotic concept. But this deep dive has really shifted my perspective.
Okay.
It's not about becoming a machine.
Right.
It's about finding a system that works with your natural flow and amplifies your strengths.
That's a brilliant insight.
Yeah.
It's about harnessing technology to serve our human needs, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this approach so empowering.
Exactly. It's not about conforming to some rigid standard.
Yeah.
It's about customizing and adapting these tools to fit your unique personality and work style.
Precisely. And that's where creativity comes in. The document mentions several times that there's no right way to use these tools.
Right.
It encourages experimentation and exploration,
Yeah.
which I find really refreshing.
It's like giving you a set of building blocks and saying, go create something amazing.
Exactly.
That's so much more inspiring than a step-by-step instruction manual.
Absolutely. And it taps into our natural human desire to learn, grow, and express ourselves.
Speaking of learning and growing, I'm curious, what are some resources or strategies you'd recommend for listeners who want to dive deeper into this world of Google productivity?
Well, there's a wealth of information available online.
Okay.
From blog posts and tutorials to YouTube channels and online communities. A simple Google search for Google productivity tips will yield a treasure trove of resources.
Okay, so start with Google itself.
Right.
That makes sense. Any specific recommendations?
Absolutely. The Google Workspace Learning Center is a fantastic resource for official guides and tutorials on all things Google Workspace.
Okay.
It's a great place to start if you want to get a solid foundation in the basics.
Great tip. And for those who prefer a more hands-on learning experience?
There are numerous online courses and workshops available, both free and paid. Platforms like Coursera, Udemy, and Skillshare offer a wide range of options, so you can find something that fits your budget and learning style.
It's amazing how accessible this knowledge is. You don't need a fancy degree or expensive training to become a Google productivity pro.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of community.
Right.
There are countless online forums and social media groups where people share tips, tricks, and even custom-built tools for maximizing Google productivity.
It's like a collective brain trust for all things Google. It's inspiring to see people coming together to support each other's growth and efficiency.
It speaks to the collaborative spirit that's at the heart of the Google ecosystem.
Well, expert speaker.
Yeah.
I have to say, This deep dive has been a revelation.
Oh, good.
It's like you've unlocked a secret level of Google mastery that I didn't even know existed.
And that's the beauty of these deep dives.
Yeah.
We're constantly uncovering hidden gems and expanding our understanding of what's possible.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that there's always more to learn, even with tools we use every day.
Precisely. And that spirit of continuous learning is what keeps us engaged, motivated, and ultimately more productive.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to thank you, expert speaker, for sharing your insights and expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure. I always enjoy these conversations, and I hope our listeners have found them valuable as well.
I have no doubt they have. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. We hope you've gained some valuable knowledge and inspiration to boost your own productivity. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference over time. So take what you've learned today and put it into action.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the incredible tools at your fingertips.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks again for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.